All right, so let's talk today about a women's only brand in WWE. This is coming off of the back of Mick Foley tweeting to Vince McMahon that he thinks that WWE should go and create a women's only brand before AEW beats them to the punch, which of course makes no sense. WWE has already done women's only events. While AEW has also done women's only events, they have not even shown any real interest in having multiple women's matches on Dynamite. But let's talk about this concept. Let's talk about why I think it might work and why I think it would never work. All right, so first, women's only promotions. It's absolutely happened before. We don't need to go into that. There's Shimmer, there's lingerie fighting leagues, there's a lot of other stuff with women's only wrestling promotions. It has happened before. WWE has done Evolution. They have also done the Mae Young Classic. They've done women's only events before, even for the network. And so these things are not out of the ordinary. So before anybody get in a knot about it, it's not out of the ordinary for them to do something like this. But would it work? Well, you have to look at the talent pool. WWE has the biggest draws as far as female wrestling talent in the world. Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Bayley, each one of them. Ronda Rousey, when they had access to Ronda Rousey, I know she's pregnant now. They don't have access to her anymore. But you also have well-known female wrestlers who are retired, such as Lita and Trish Stratus. You also have Paige. People who know these women, right? You could for a little while put them all on one brand and generate some real interest in that brand. You could do it. It could work. And if it could work at any point in time in history, even with the second tier women, your Bianca Belairs, your Rhea Ripley's, your Asukas, you do have enough talent to be able to create that brand. You do have the talent. So why would it not work? The number one reason why it wouldn't work is the political aspect of it. The political aspect of it meaning that once you create a separate brand for the women, and it's for them only, people are going to start arguing about whether now do they also get spots on Raw and SmackDown and NXT. Because I'm guessing if you're going to move all of the women to one brand, okay, now does Raw, SmackDown, and NXT become male only? Well, if you don't do that, then you're going to see, you're going to have women on all three brands, plus they get their own brand. But if you do the opposite and you say, no, the men will get Raw and SmackDown, there's more men than women, and we'll just give the women their own brand. Well, that's what's going to create segregation. And that's what people are going to scream, you're segregating the women and it's not fair. Don't do it. Especially if it's a brand specifically for the network. Now, so I can tell you that's probably why it wouldn't work. Second reason why it wouldn't work is a lot of people say, well, the women's shows would be successful. And, why would WWE do something that could mega print money? And you have to realize these things don't mega print money. A lot of these women's promotions go under. A lot of these women's promotions are kept small for a reason. A lot of them are pushed onto YouTube, like ROH, the Women of Honor, is pushed on YouTube. AEW, their show, when they did all this stuff for the women, it was pushed on YouTube. Usually they do this stuff because the women don't draw. Mickie James recently did an article, or she did a little talking thing, where she talked about when she was told the reason why there hasn't been a second Evolution show is because the first one had done so poorly as far as how tickets sold and views and stuff like that. And there are a certain number of male fans that are really interested in the female division. They are. And I think arguing against that is a little bit silly. The fact of the matter is there is not enough of them to maintain a wrestling promotion. It's just not enough. There are some people who are hardcore Sasha Banks fans, hardcore Naomi fans, crazy Io Shirai fans, nutty, absolutely bonkers Becky Lynch and Bayley and fans and all these people. There is just not enough of them. But you will also create another problem, is that because of the way WWE books their shows, if they were to have a women's only promotion, it would be dominated by the four horsewomen who will eat up all the time, and then you would still be in the same situation because, like, where's Nikki Cross? Where's Carmella? It would just be Sasha Banks cutting 15-minute promos because that's just how WWE does. Now, I still support the idea, though. I still support the idea of having a women's only brand because I am in favor of the segregation. I am 100% fine with you taking every female wrestler off of NXT, Raw, and SmackDown and putting them onto one brand or even two. Create two women's promotions. Why don't you? Who cares? You can do it. And then people can make the decision about whether they want to watch that or not. As opposed to forcing people to watch women's matches they don't want to see. That, to me, is a perfect way of looking at things. You want to have a women's version of Raw and a women's version of SmackDown, where one is 2 hours, one is 3 hours. I don't care, do it. And then I will make the decision myself whether I want to watch it or not. And some people will make that decision, other people will not. Now, I do believe that if they do that, it would be a waste of money and time, and it would dissolve within a year. Despite the fact that I think smaller wrestling promotions will get away with it because they don't keep women under contract for extended periods of time. Meaning, a lot of the women that are on AEW Dynamite, very few of them are actually signed to AEW. Most of them are paid by appearance. Same thing with Ring of Honor. You pay them via appearance. So they're not salaried. WWE, they would be salaried. They'd be, sitting and catering. You're paying them to do nothing. But you also have to pay a whole new production staff in order to put together a women's only show. And then more than likely, they would start saying things like you would have to have a female only commentators and female only writing teams and all that stuff, right? It could work. I think it's worth a shot, but I know already that it'll likely fail. Within 2 years, it'll go belly up. But I still say do it anyway. Make some of these people put their money where their mouth is. Make them say, hey, okay, we will create a women's only brand. We'll do it. We'll do a women's only brand. It'll be, 3 hours on Wednesdays or whatever the hell, right? And what you will see is there will be a lot of excitement for maybe the first 2 months. And then people will get used to it once they see what it is and how it's going. And then they'll just kind of peter off. Because by then you'll start seeing maybe less time for women on Raw and SmackDown, maybe none at all, because they're saving all their stuff for their big women's show. Or you'll see them trying to build the women's show via Raw and SmackDown, and that'll piss people off. But ultimately, I do think that it's worth a shot. This is a real strange thing. I'm in a position here because I'm actually pitching something that I think will fail. But I really want people to do it, right? Because I want to see how badly it will fail. There's no doubt in my mind that it will fail. I just want to see how bad it would be. Would it fail in 6 months? Or will it fail in 4? Will it fail in 2 years? But bottom line is, I think that the political aspect of it would end up crippling the whole concept. So Mick Foley is, he's trying to be nice because that's what Mickey is. And Mick's been pushing the women's wrestling thing for a long time. He was a big booster of Melina back in the day, the Melina and the Beth Phoenix era. So this is not Mick Foley coming up with something new. He's been pushing this kind of stuff for a long time now. But it just won't work, And a lot of people who have been fooled into thinking evolution was a big deal, they don't realize that the WWE did not do it again because it didn't work. That's also why they stopped doing the Mae Young Classics. It simply is not worth it. But I think they should do it. I think it would be beneficial to everybody if the women had their own brand, even if you had to drag it towards success, like 205 Live, right? So 205 Live is a failure, right? It is, but it continues to exist, and I think that the women's division deserves a similar thing. Do a women's version of 205 Live. I don't know what color it would be. Let's do green. Let's do, beige. I don't know. I don't care. But do it. Half-hour women's show featuring a lot of the women who, don't have time for NXT or Raw or SmackDown, and let them tell their stories and do different things. Do it. Like I said, 205 Live is a huge failure. It didn't have to be that way because 205 Live used to be good. But now it went belly up because nobody talks about it, So I say give the women a chance. Give the women their own show. It'll probably start out much like Superstars did back in the day, where you'll have Sasha on the show and Charlotte's on the show for the first couple of weeks. And then by the 4th or 5th month mark, they're going to pull Sasha from the show, pull Charlotte from it, and it's just going to be Gigi Dolan versus Nikki Cross. And that's just kind of how it's going to end up being. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later.